world is holding its breath at this incredible turn of events. China, which for years stayed on the sidelines, has now sharply changed its course. All of Beijing's actions are now against the Kremlin. Xi Jinping is now siding with Trump. The first signals have been sent. The alliance with Moscow is falling apart at the seams. Washington is pushing through and Beijing is giving in. Did Trump really manage to do the impossible? All the details are coming up right now in our report.
Is this a truce or the calm before the storm? China has announced the suspension of the additional 24% tariff on American goods. The easing will last for a year. At the same time, the base tariff of 10%, which was introduced in response to a similar tariff by Trump, announced by him in
April, the month of April, a time of renewal and growth.
The decision to update the agreements was made after a meeting between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping, Reuters reports. Thanks to this, tariffs of up to 15% on certain types of agricultural products from the US were also lifted. From
an economic standpoint, China and the US cannot be, let's say, not just in different camps, but also with different workers. In fact, they are in different camps because they are competing over which of them is the leading economy.
The Chinese Ministry of Finance stated that they are suspending all tariffs imposed on March 4th on soybeans and other U.S. agricultural products, including corn, wheat, sorghum, and chicken. It was stated that the decision was made in accordance with the consensus reached during economic and trade consultations,
describing the relationship, connection, or interaction that takes place between China and another country, region, or entity. And most notably the United States.
The US and China have also agreed to establish direct communication between their armed forces. As stated by Pentagon Chief Pete Hexa, this will help prevent potential conflicts between the countries. Another step China has taken towards the US is refusing to import Russian oil. According to Bloomberg, large companies and small private enterprises in China have canceled nearly half of their oil shipments from Russia after the US imposed sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil in October.
And when the question arises of whom China will choose, Russia or the US, one must understand a simple thing. There is the US and its largest state is California. And California's economy is equivalent to 2 Russian economies, just one state. The US in America is like 2 economies of the Russian Federation. Of course, for China, the US is far more important than Russia.
Putin absolutely does not want to let go of one of his few remaining partners, so he sent his prime minister with greetings to Beijing. As a result of the negotiations, the parties signed about 10 documents on cooperation in the fields of energy, space, and high
technologies are tools and systems developed through scientific knowledge to solve problems and make life easier, such as computers and smartphones. And from America, interestingly, there are losses in the territories.
According to the Ukrainian Foreign Intelligence Service, Russia is sinking ever deeper into economic dependence on China. Raw material projects in the Far East and Siberia are turning the region into a resource base for China, while local communities are left out of the promised benefits.
Shock in enemy headquarters. New Ukrainian drones are entering the arena. Their appearance is a sign that from this moment on, problems are beginning for the Kremlin. A technological breakthrough that destroys old notions of war. Mavics are becoming a thing of the past. Our birds strike precisely and flawlessly. Those who thought they knew how the battle would go were mistaken when they saw the results of these engagements. It's incredible. Russian soldiers refuse to go to their deaths when these latest drones are in the sky above them. So could this breakthrough become a turning point? Don't miss this and more in the report coming up in just a few seconds.
Reconnaissance, fire adjustment, and striking targets by dropping munitions. Is the Chinese drone Mavic perhaps the main weapon of the Ukrainian armed forces in the war against the occupiers? And now Ukrainian industry has begun supplying domestically produced Mavic-type UAVs to the front lines.
Mr. X personally invested and created the Ukrainian Mavic, and we will see it soon. We have already delivered the first 1,000 of them to the battlefield.
Compared to the Chinese Mavic, the Ukrainian counterpart has a greater flight range and can carry a heavier payload. It is used both for reconnaissance and for strike missions. The importance of the emergence of Ukrainian drones in this niche is hard to overestimate because there are huge problems with the supply of Mavics to Ukraine.
DJI has banned sales to Ukraine, piously declaring that its products are not intended for military purposes, so drones have to be purchased from third parties. The security issues are obvious. The Pentagon has banned any use of DJI drones which send data back to the manufacturers. DJI has also added security features that make it impossible for the latest models to fly in geo-blocked zones, including Ukraine, without extensive hacking. Ultimately, sovereign drone production is a key strategic capability for the future.
The Chinese drone Mavic has its counterpart called Schmavik, and despite the ironic name, it has already been certified and comes with some serious features.
Schmavik is positioned as a tactical reconnaissance drone designed to carry out operational tasks on the front line, unlike the civilian Mavic, which is mainly used for aerial photography and videography. Schmavik is built for combat conditions. It has an operational range of up to 15 kilometers, a flight duration of up to 60 minutes, and is equipped with a reliable navigation system resistant to interference.
As early as last year, the government announced its interest in replacing Chinese drones. Currently, manufacturers have already completed certification of Ukrainian Mavics, and production has been established.
As of today, it is impossible to completely replace the fleet of Mavics currently operating in Ukraine in the short term. Our weapons manufacturers already have designs in development that meet the needs of our security and defense forces. Now it is necessary to scale up this production and minimize the number of foreign analogs as much as possible, transitioning to domestic models.
There are already numerous Ukrainian analogs of the Mavic, including Ukrporter, Yaitia, and the magical Schmavik. They are larger than Mavic drones, equipped with long-range jamming resistance, and are more expensive. However, they may turn out to be more economical due to their greater reliability.
For us, the key indicator is not the price per drone, but the cost of a single mission. While a typical Mavic performs about 60 missions per drone, our systems average around 300 missions per unit. With a comparable purchase price, the cost of a single mission is 5 times lower. And this means that the military units operating our drones gain a much greater overall economic benefit. Drone manufacturer?
Independent UAV production is the most important element in modern warfare, and Ukraine knows this better than anyone. Since short-range drones and long-range strike UAVs have become the most crucial elements of national defense.
Putin went for it, signed a new law, and is already preparing new cannon fodder, full-scale mobilization. There aren't enough people at the front, so Plan B has been put into action. However, the Russians themselves are resisting. No one wants to go to the front lines, so the Kremlin is pressuring those on leave. They're trying with all their might to turn the tide. A sudden order to find volunteers to guard oil refineries from Ukrainian drone strikes. The life or death roulette has begun. Could it be that the world's second largest army is not immortal after all, and the stock of heroes for the special military operation has been noticeably depleted? All about this in the following report.
The cannon fodder conveyor. Putin has signed a law for year-round conscription into the Russian army.
We feel confident, determined, and without seeing... Let me introduce something new to you right now.
The new law allows military enlistment officers to operate without breaks, and dodging service will become even harder.
Well done indeed.
Victory will be ours.
Absolutely. Victory will be ours.
But this optimistic and hopeful mood will, unfortunately, soon leave these brave heroes. And they will lose even more, because Putin is doing everything to make that happen. According to the new procedure, recruitment into the army will take place throughout the entire year, from January 1st to December 31st.
In December, and not just during the spring and autumn drafts, there are important events and developments occurring. This is what is referred to as a special military operation, a term that is used to describe a particular set of military activities that are considered to be different from regular warfare.
According to the new rules, draft notices can now be posted in the state electronic register, and the deadline to report to the military enlistment office must not exceed 30 days from the date the notice is published.
They are already taking place across the territory of the Russian Federation, and first and foremost, they have affected citizens of the Central Asian republics. In addition, it should be noted that this decree will lead to an increase in the number of Russians who will leave the territory of the occupying country. I would like to remind you that as a result of the so-called first wave of partial mobilization, according to estimates from the Russian side itself, more than 1.5 million citizens of this country left the territory of the Russian Federation.
At the same time, Putin signed another law that allows reservists to be involved in guarding critically important infrastructure facilities. Russian media note that this is about strengthening control over military and energy.
Apparently, they will be sent directly to the front line of combat. In other words, strategic sites will now be protected right at the zero line.
Simply put, Putin's new rules effectively legalize year-round raids and constant pressure on conscripts. And while the Kremlin dictator makes decisions from his warm office and tells stories about how Russians are supposedly lining up voluntarily to go fight,
Our guys are going voluntarily. They're going on their own. And here, 50 to 60,000 guys come on their own every month.
at the front, Russian soldiers cursed the day. Some were lured by money but ended up with nothing. Others were simply deceived and thrown in as cannon fodder.
My head got straightened out pretty quickly. It only took me about 3 or 4 months to fully grasp the reality of the situation. I'd rather get caught and go to prison than go back there. At
the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the aggressor country Russia lost about 1.5 million soldiers. Since the beginning
of 2025, 336,000 citizens of the Russian Federation have signed contracts with the armed forces of the Russian Federation. And now attention to the assessments of British intelligence. The losses of Russian occupiers from January to November amounted to 353,000 military personnel. In other words, the losses of the Russian army are much greater than their ability to replenish their personnel. That is, the issue of replenishing personnel is being addressed at the expense of volunteers. Even with financial incentives, and most of the volunteers are residents of Russia's depressed regions, this does not solve the problem of replenishing personnel.
No matter how many soldiers the Kremlin sends to Ukraine, only defeat and death await them here. And the Russian ruler understands this perfectly well. But he doesn't care. That's all from me for now. This was me, Darina Hutsakalo. There will be even more hellish news in our next episode. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. See you.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.